My boyfriend was going to make a custom urn for my mom's ashes after she passed, but then he misplaced them somewhere in his studio, and now we've torn the entire room apart and they're just gone. Posted by you/thrownawayashes. My boyfriend, 31M, and I, 27F, had been together for 5 years, and he accidentally threw away my mother's ashes. My mother passed just before Christmas. She was hit by a car, so obviously it was totally unexpected, and we're all still in a daze, at least I am. My father even more so. It's like he shut off when he heard the news and hasn't figured out how to power back up again yet. Shortly after the funeral, my boyfriend offered something amazing. My mother was always a huge fan of the arts, and as my boyfriend is a potter, she's always been incredibly intrigued by his work. He even treated her to a studio session once, and she went on about it for weeks. Anyways, his offer was to create an urn for my father, something really striking and original, and my mom. I thought it was incredible, and when we asked my dad, he just burst into tears and started hugging us. He seemed so truly touched. It was an incredibly intense moment for us all. I know that art takes time, but usually, my boyfriend is a very quick worker. We didn't get her ashes back until about 6 weeks ago, and my boyfriend asked if he could hold on to them so he could make the urn the proper size and everything. A few weeks go by, and I asked if he had any updates, or if I perhaps could see his progress. He got pretty defensive, and I dropped the subject. Sometimes he can be testy about his work, so this wasn't really out of the ordinary, if that makes sense. Over the following few weeks, I'd drop hints here and there and mention it in passing, but he'd always manage to drop the subject, and I'd get no new info. Finally, a few days ago, I got pretty serious about it, since my dad had recently asked about it, and demanded to know at least an estimate of when it'd be completed. The look on his face said it all. My heart dropped to my stomach before he even spoke a word. I love my boyfriend, but dang is he mindless sometimes. He says he misplaced the ashes, but that they had to be somewhere in his studio, so they weren't lost. He was adamant that they were in the studio somewhere, as he's the only one really that goes in and out, and he would remember actually taking them out of the studio. For the past 2 days, we have torn the room apart. We've completely emptied it and put everything back in. We've emptied boxes, storage containers, waste bins, every freaking thing. It's not in there. The ashes were in a pretty inconspicuous brown box, which I believe would have been easy for him to confuse as something else and either take out of the studio at some point or throw away. He still insists that the ashes aren't lost and that they're somewhere in his studio. It's making my head hurt. Like, yesterday morning we had his studio absolutely empty. It's just not in there. I don't know what happened to them, and at this point it doesn't really matter, but I can accept that they're gone. At which point, it's time to tell my father. But my boyfriend refuses, insisting that they are not lost, they're just misplaced, and telling him that they're gone for good would be unnecessarily cruel. I kind of agree, and here we are. If my dad asks again, I don't think I can lie to him, but what if my boyfriend is right? What if I tell him that we lost the only remnants of his wife, only to be wrong? Why should I put him through that if we're not sure? But on the other hand, it's already been longer than I implied it'd be, so he's got to be growing concerned. Would he hate that I lied to him when he eventually does find out? My head is a mess, please help me. What do I do? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I may be a terrible person. I don't think I'd tell your dad. It's not going to help him. I'd either tell the white lie that she was incorporated into the slip to make the urn, or find some ash elsewhere and put it in a bag and let it be. Again, I may be a terrible person, but sparing a loved one unnecessary pain would be my intention. Gosh, I'm so sorry. Ops response, okay, I'm going to sound 12 years old here, but I don't know if I can lie to my dad. Especially about this. We've always been extremely close, and we just don't lie to one another. But I think you're right. This is the best option, and it's best for him. I think. Commenter 2, to my knowledge, my father and I don't lie to one another either. But if he suddenly lost his life partner? I'd tell him her ashes were in that urn and nothing else. It's not like he'll be looking to use them for anything, but rather wants to know that she's in there, and honestly as long as he thinks she is, then she is. It's your decision, but this is one lie I think I would tell my father. Ops response, what if that's not true? What if just because he thinks it, her spirit is not in there? What if I've truly lost her? Commenter 2, well, you have lost her in the way of the physical. She's passed. You're grieving, and I'm sorry to come off harshly. I just view the concept very factually. How she lives on now really all depends on you and your father and the people who knew her. I choose to remember my grandparents by talking out loud to them sometimes, or taking note of moments when I feel like I can feel their presence. I choose to believe those things and feel certain ways about them. I choose to carry the people I've lost in my own ways, just as you and your father and whoever else loved her are going to have too. Her ashes were just the last physical representation you had of her. I can imagine it's hard to lose them for you, but really this all depends on how you view the concept. Do you believe in souls? Do you think that her soul only exists attached to those ashes? This is all about perspective. Your mother is your mother. Your father's wife is your father's wife. That doesn't change because you can't find her ashes. That stays the same because that's how the two of you individually feel about it. I hope this makes some sense. It's such a sensitive topic. Either way, I am sorry for your loss. I think no matter what, she lives on in both of you, and that's more important than the burned up remains being what's actually in that urn. Commenter 3, I'm going to be totally honest. If I was him, I would have gotten some ash from somewhere else and lied to you and your father. I would have taken the secret to the grave. Commenter 4, I feel like white lies are lies about small or insignificant things that have no real impact. This doesn't feel like one of those things. Commenter 3, there is no impact. She's not going to come back to life with the real ashes. He's never going to look at the ashes. How does knowing help? It's just a memorial. But I don't insist on this position. It's very delicate and very personal. Ops response, I'm really struggling with it. I feel like I've lost her all over again, which is silly and stupid, but it's the truth. I still feel so numb. I'm sure I'll feel more eventually. Commenter 5, and your father will feel that way too. That's why people are telling you to not tell him. Also, he will never forgive your boyfriend. Ops response, people are also faulting my boyfriend for hiding it from me, but then suggesting I hide it from my father. How can one of those be wrong and the other be right? Commenter 6, I think the difference between these two lies is that one was selfish, protecting himself, your boyfriend, and the other is you protecting your dad as to not cause him any more grief. The fact that your boyfriend hid that he lost the ashes for weeks says a lot about him. This is an incredibly hard decision either way, and I'm sorry you're going through this. Ops response, he says he lied to protect me. Plenty of people could also say I'm lying to protect myself from the guilt of admitting that I lost her. I guess I just don't see the difference. Commenter 7, does your boyfriend lose a lot of things? Ops response, yeah, honestly, he's lost his passport, his car keys, his house keys, countless times. The significance of the item doesn't affect his mindlessness. Update, 2 months later. I'm just going to post this here and leave, so apologies if I don't have the strength to answer comments. I'm at a real low right now. Please go easy on me, guys. I took your advice and then ruined everything. I don't know where to begin except that I've destroyed my father and fricked up absolutely everything. I'm all alone. I waited a few more weeks for her ashes to possibly show up, but they didn't. I finally accepted that my mom was really lost forever. First, I dumped my boyfriend. Once my head cleared, I realized that I just couldn't get past this. I felt like he'd betrayed me and betrayed her memory. Then, I took your other advice and lied to my father. It started out okay. I gave him the urn, and he was so overcome with happiness. Honestly, it was the first time he truly smiled since her passing. He announced that his wife was home and set the urn as a centerpiece in his main room. I was overwhelmed but ultimately knew I'd done the right thing. If you could have seen him, you'd agree. So thank you, Reddit. I take full blame for what happened next. Everything was fine for a while. I could manage telling the story without breaking down, and I held up the lie as best I could. Until last night. My father hosted a large family dinner at his home. Both my siblings were there, and aunts and cousins and such, about 20 people in total. Before we said grace, my brother stood up. He lifted up this beautifully etched wood placard and explained that he'd had a quote from our mother's favorite book burned or something into the wood. He read it aloud, and guys, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't want to say the specific quote or book, but it just hit me in all the wrong places. But I was okay. I held the tears back and kept swallowing the giant ball of sadness that was building up in my stomach and tried to look unfazed. After he finished, he placed it against the urn and hugged my father, who then turned to me and asked if I would tell everyone one more time the story of the urn. I tried. I tried so freaking hard, but nothing would come out. I just sat there with my mouth open and tears streaming down my face and a freaking concrete slab resting in my stomach and froze. Everyone was staring at me, and the lie just wouldn't come out. It's like it was stuck in my throat, and I started physically shaking and just stood up and went to the bathroom. It was apparently quite the scene. My sister came after me and found me sobbing in the bathroom. She sat down with me and started crying too, begging me to talk to her, but I was still just frozen. She held my hands and said that we need to lean on one another in times like this, that we have to be able to be honest about how we're feeling. Everything just broke. I fricked up, and I told her the truth. As soon as it was out of my mouth, she dropped my hands like hot coals. She looked so disgusted with me. She asked what I'd filled the urn with, and I told her ashes from my fireplace. I don't know why I said that. It was like every lie just wouldn't make its way out of my mouth, and I could only say the truth. I hate myself for that. She stood up to leave, and we both realized my father was standing in the doorway. The way he was looking at me. I'm sorry, I can't finish that sentence. I keep trying to. I'll never get his face out of my head. I betrayed him. I broke his heart. I stood up, but again my voice failed me. He looked down and told me I needed to leave. I tried to hug him, and my sister tore me away and shouted, "Don't you touch him," and my father told me again that he wanted me out of his house. I could barely walk or think, but somehow I made it out of the house. On my way out, my father handed me back the urn. I don't remember what he said. I've called and texted him and my sister both since then, apologizing a million times in every way I know how. My father told me I'm as gone to him as my mother. I'm all alone. I don't have my boyfriend. I don't have my family. I don't have my mom. I ruined absolutely everything and don't know where to go from here. I haven't left my bed all day, and I feel like I'm mourning my mother times 100 all over again. I don't know why I posted this. I just don't have anyone else to turn to. I hate myself, and I know that I deserve this, but it doesn't make it any easier. I failed my mother. I failed my family. I'm so alone.